Oh, got a thumbs up there from Jake Ellacott. So welcome to a pod full of ex-Saints plus one. Jake's thumb is for plus one. One of the ex-Saints is Lee Wood. Evening, Lee.
Evening, Dave. How are you, my friend? You okay?
All the better for seeing you. Is that a nice, embossed one, isn't it?
It's embroidered, my friend.
Embroidered, mate. Yeah, mine's one of those iron-on patches. You can't imagine a club would ever do anything as tacky as that now.
I'll tell you what that is, Tavs. That is the tangerine and charcoal, my friend.
What
Look
year?
at it. Oh, 98.
Take your word for it. I've not got a clue. Fits well, doesn't it? It's supposed to be short sleeve.
Lee, do you have one of those?
I don't, mate. I don't.
Probably was his. Don't tell him. Right, what do you got, Jake? 2006-7 again?
I think it's I think it's 0708. I think it is.
Oh, Christ, a bit modern.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Right, we got a packed program. It says here tonight. Oh, nobody told me. We're recording this just after 6:30 on Wednesday, the 2nd of December, 2020, and we start with another unbeaten game for the Saints, who of course are now the elite of the elite, the only unbeaten side in elite football, so that makes us elite. And Jake was there with a big match atmosphere. What was it like down at Priory Lane on Saturday, Jake, when we beat Eastbourne Borough 1-0?
Well, it wasn't particularly anything too entertaining, was it? Just another professional ground out result, which we've been saying quite a bit on this podcast in the last couple of weeks. We looked all right. We did the job. We just looked professional. Eastbourne looked to do a similar job on us that they did last season with a lot of long balls over the top. But this time we didn't get caught out. And yeah, we looked okay. Crowd-wise, it was almost like there was a crowd there. There were so many supporters in the main stand from Eastbourne, but that's not for me to comment on. But yeah, no, another good performance from the lads. And we're just motoring along at the minute, aren't we? Just look very comfortable.
It's all right, Jake. People are mentioning the number of people we're seeing down the park as well. It's not just Eastbourne. What do you make of it, Lee?
If I could start with a little bit of a negative, actually, we give the ball away so much, which is fine because we've got the players around us to have the energy levels to sort of get it back. But it seems every third or fourth pass at times is just giving the ball away. We are struggling to retain possession for large periods of the game. But again, you know, you're finding flaws in an otherwise flawless performance. But I think that's going to have to address that at some point because we are running around trying to get the ball back when really it was us who gave it away in the first place. But apart from that, mate, I again love the energy. We scare defenders big time with just the raw pace that we've got now. I thought it was okay. I thought defensively there were a few points when I thought, well, I don't know, this is the Saints of old. But thankfully, the Saints of now came to the sort of table, and I thought it was a very accomplished performance, and it was going to be a difficult game as well. I mean, a lot of us, I saw on the form, a lot of us were tipping us to get on back of a hiding. But I thought it was a really accomplished performance, and we did the sort of job without being particularly glamorous.
Yeah, for me, there's two things to take from the game. The result and the game itself. The result, no one can knock it. Eastbourne hadn't lost since the opening day of the season, went down 3-0 at home to Dorking. So the result, as I say, we're the only unbeaten side in elite football. You can't knock that. We're up to third in the table. We were at the time. And we played three sides in the top five in the last three games. The next one is against another top five side as well now, with Hampton going up. Not let a goal in those three games. You can't criticise it. Eastbourne only had 2 shots on target. Mind you, that's one more than what we had. The game itself, it wasn't great to watch. Our time-wasting tactics, people are picking up on it. I got a phone call bang on the final whistle from a supporter who was spitting blood with what he saw with the time-wasting. It's part of the modern game.
But Taz, I was just going to say to you, is that not part of the game? You know,
it doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right, but you know, is that not? I mean, how many times have people done that to us? You know, we are trying to see the game out. It's just a professional outlook that most teams have now. And to be honest with you,
It's not professional. If you go to work and do your job, Lee, if you slink off for an hour, that's not professional. And by stopping working for an hour, that's not professional. By stopping playing football, that's not professional. It might win you the game.
That's probably why I'm my own boss, to be fair to you, mate. I can sort of get away with stuff like that. But I hear what you're saying, but if that didn't come into our game and Eastbourne were to get an equaliser, we'd say, oh, we should have been sort of seeing this game out. So for me, I don't mind that, because teams have done that to us in the past. And for me, it just shows that we're prepared to sort of be a bit clever, if I'm honest. And we come back away from there with 3 points.
See, I don't like those phrases. As a football fan, I want to see a good game of football. And the bonus is if we win. The most important thing is not if we win. The most important thing is a good game. The bonus if we win. I know a lot of supporters will disagree. They always will, because they want their team to win. And that's what it's all about. I can understand that. But personally, I want to see a good game of football.
I think that's fair enough, and I think a lot of fans do agree for that viewpoint. But last season we weren't clever at all. All those games we lost, we really struggled throughout the season. This season the side is being a bit clever. I know you may not like that phrase, Dave, and I do understand why. We're being smart. We are winning games. We're grinding out results, which we haven't done for a very long time, and it makes a change. And it isn't always the most enjoyable football, although I think we've played some decent stuff this season, actually, so far. But it's getting the results, and at the end of the day, the result makes my whole weekend worth it in terms of picking up 3 points, and that's all I care about as a City fan.
Oh, you sad individual.
I was just going to say, you're a very sad man. Get out a little bit more, mate.
You both know that.
Whether he watches us or not.
I was going to mention on Lee's point about losing the ball. You wonder if we're seeing the effect of David Noble not being in the squad at the minute, or being in the team anyway. That sort of that person in midfield that can really pass the ball and really move it for us. Obviously, he wasn't in the squad Saturday, probably protecting his knees from the 3G. And I just wonder if we're missing that at the minute.
Well, of course, the 3G, as we mentioned the other week, 8 clubs in our division with it, so he could miss quite a few games this season.
Yeah, very possibly. I think we also need to mention Michael Johnson again. That save at the end looked unbelievable.
Should have held it.
You're a hard man to please, I know that. Going back onto sort of the point about Noble, there's no point rushing him back. We've got stung in the past where we've rushed him back, hoping he would affect the game, and we've lost him again for another 3 or 4 games. There's absolutely no point in us having a half-fit Nobby. Absolutely not. You get him fully fit so he can actually influence the game on his terms. Otherwise, it's pointless. You're just carrying another player.
I think you've got to praise our defence again Saturday, restricting them to just 2 shots on target. But it's funny, I don't know what you two make of it, but it seems like players are reluctant to shoot, really. You do see some great goals, no 2 ways about it, at any level of football. But the number of shots, it doesn't seem to be that high, and yet the ball is as light as it's ever been. Yeah,
it does feel like this season, in terms of the Saints and also opposition sides, it's not like Michael Johnson has had a really busy game where he's made 5-10 good saves. It seems to be like you say, players do seem to be just a bit hesitant. I don't know why that is, but we do need to praise the defence. They're really restricting opposition sides, and I mean the players like James Cloxey, Michael Clark, Tom Bender. I can't believe they were in the same team last season.
I was just going to say, Cloxey for me had a really good game on Saturday, because normally he was the sort of fall guy, wasn't he? Last year, Ian Allenson obviously sort of put him in for a game, pulled him out for 3 or 4. He was always the one that sort of had to make way after a bad team performance. But I thought Saturday he was absolutely majestic, winning everything, putting his body on the line. He was almost the James Kolotsky of his first period at the club. Real sort of all guns blazing defender, stroke midfielder. And fair play. He was absolutely outstanding for us on Saturday.
I think everybody picked up on James' performance on Saturday. But again, I think we should praise Michael Clark. He's performing at the best he's played in his spells with the club. And he's got in and he's there on merit now.
He has. And Devontae Stanley and Luke Warner-Reilly can't get back in the side at the minute. Both of them look like nailed-on sort of starters throughout the season when they first came in. But now, I mean, Michael Clark, his performances at right-back are absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah,
and Devontae Stanley, who looked like he was going to make right-back his own, he's having to make do with a place on the bench.
But that's why we've got a bigger squad this season. So we've got players that can come in and do the job.
Title sewn up then. Maybe not. We were supposed to be at Dulwich last night, weren't we, Jake?
I believe we were. I'm sort of glad we weren't. Does anyone want to go there on a cold Tuesday night in December? Apparently their pylon was on the pitch, wasn't it? From what I've heard.
It's floodlight repairs, isn't it? I haven't gone into the actual details. But it's
Yeah.
good news for them because they're not happy with the money they're getting. Now these games, Saturdays they called off and game against us called off. Now they'll be able to play them when fans are there. So good old Dulwich.
Yeah, I think they tried to possibly try and get the game moved tonight, but it seems the National League was very restrictive on teams moving games tonight, and who do play tonight, haven't been allowed fans in by the National League yet. So I think teams are still very much waiting. I know we'll get onto that in a second, but yeah, I mean, Dulwich will go there probably in January, and we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense not allowing the clubs to put it back 24 hours because this is not a normal season. So it's give and take. Would have been good for the game. But there you go. We're not in charge of a league. In fact, nobody is now because at the end of the year,
for that, eh?
at the end of the year, Michael Tattersall, the chief executive of the National League, is standing down. So if you want to get some gainful employment for a change, Jake, there you go.
Would you call the National League gainful employment?
Oh, well, but Jake, Lee and I wouldn't because we get banned from there as well, I expect.
Oh, dearie me.
Right, we got another game on Saturday. We're away to Hampton and Richmond Borough. In theory, as we just mentioned, crowds and fans are allowed, but it looks unlikely we'll have any there, I believe.
Yeah, from what I've heard at the minute, it sounds like away fans aren't allowed at games. I mean, I presume neutrals are. People, I mean, it seems to be based upon people's postcodes at the minute, from what I've seen, that clubs are going to be deciding it. So if you're like Dave and you haven't got a St Albans postcode, you might be able to get in. But yeah, it's just an absolutely just another strange decision in the season of sort of what is going on to football. Who knows what's going on, and no one seems to. The decision seems to be being made by just sort of anyone at the minute. I believe the National League had a meeting yesterday, but we're still waiting to hear from that. But Hampton still haven't, from what I understand, got approval yet anyway. Hopefully maybe tomorrow or Friday they will. So it's very much a wait and see what happens on Saturday.
It's bizarre, isn't it, that meeting yesterday? Because time is of the essence. You would have thought they want to get the findings of that meeting out into the public domain as quickly as possible, but obviously not. Hampton, they're not going too badly at the moment. When we played on the open day of the season, they looked short of goals. And might have put that right. They got 6 at Billericay on Saturday, got 3 more last night. And they're spreading them around the team. I don't think there's one player knocking them in. It's all spread around.
It's going to be difficult. We saw them, what they looked like on the opening day. They looked like a decent outfit. I mean, the Saints only just won in the end, didn't they, with that Inwabuki winner from a scrappy free kick. So it's going to be difficult.
So what are we going to do then, Lee? We won't be able to go.
I'm going to the pub, mate. I don't know about you.
I'm going to Hartenden if we can't go. They're at home to Olsey Town. Doesn't seem that long ago when we were playing Olsey in the league, does it?
I know, mate. The glory days, eh? Those we've known and loved.
I mean, it doesn't feel like it was 2 days since we played Hampton in the opening game of the season.
No, Jake, no. Listen, we talk about the glory days, mate. Tav's had hair. I was thin. It was all great, mate. It was brilliant.
Right, okay. I'll try and get over that shock.
Lee, have you heard sort of anything from your National League clubs about yesterday's meeting yet?
So Dagenham are playing tonight. They're playing Notts County. I know that Notts County were particularly sort of keen to have fans in, even though there weren't going to be any of theirs there. But it's down to the individual grading of the grounds now. So as you sort of say, Dagenham were looking to get fans back in tonight. But it just didn't happen. I think it just sort of came a little bit too soon. But the next home game, they're looking to have fans back in. It's just a matter. I know that the leagues below had a meeting yesterday as well, but they're not going to be releasing the information until tomorrow. So maybe that's when we're going to be hearing something from the National League as well.
Because Hampton, I think the initial thinking was you get 2,000 fans in, or 50% of your capacity, whichever is the lower figure. In Hampton's case, it'd be the capacity, because they've only got 3,500 capacity. So what's that, about 1,750 supporters? So that'd be 1,000 of theirs and 750 of theirs. Whatever. So in theory, we're going to have room for all of us, if that is what applies. But it doesn't look like it's going to, does it?
No. So I
But
think
also, Tab, sorry, mate. Go on.
No, it's right. You go, Headley.
I was just going to say, mate, you know, it was the similar situation to the Stortford game. It was only supposed to be home fans and neutrals, but yet, I mean, I saw at least a dozen St Albans fans in the crowd on the TV. It's, if you want to go, you'll make it in there somehow, you know, because at the end of the day, the clubs need money, and if you rock up with money or you buy a ticket in advance, then you know they're not going to turf you away, because you could be a fan living at the other end of the country. You know, it's not, there's no protocol. I don't see how you're going to police it with any great aplomb. So listen, you got to get the fans back in. But as I say, I've now got FA Trophy games on Tuesday, and they are looking to have fans in, even though they're in a different sort of tier. The rules seem to sort of fluctuate on a weekly basis. And I mean, I'm in constant conversations with all of my clubs. Some want to have programs, some want to have the media pack sent out, some need to have this and that. But they can have it for the trophy, but they can't have it for a league game. It's just absolutely craziness, really.
With the Stortford game, the rules in the FA Cup is that both clubs have to do their utmost to make sure there's only home fans in those qualifying round games, because you kind of crowds in the competition proper. So St Albans City did go through that list as well, and I know at least one supporter who got oiked out, and others as well. I don't know, but that's what was supposed to happen. But from what you say, it sounds like some slipped through the net. They probably the 12 stood right next to each other, not social distancing, trying to get Stortford into trouble.
I mean, I suppose, again, it depends what the league say, doesn't it? If the league say both clubs have to work as much as they can together to make sure there's no away fans, then obviously they will. But if there isn't anything like that, and it just says the home club shouldn't let any away fans in, the home club isn't going to care about that. The home club only wants paying supporters in, because at the moment it's about getting the cash in, making sure, as Lee says, these clubs survive the winter. They want fans in now while they can, before anything changes again. So, and I think on your point, Dave, a bit earlier, sort of about the attendances, I think one of the safety groups released some advice last week, and it's also dependent on the local safety boards maximum permitted in a ground as well, which from what I've heard at clubs like Dorking and stuff, it's only 680 at the minute now, which they're going for. So it seems to be a lot lower than even the 50% possible.
Going to be interesting. He also mentioned when some of the leagues are restarting. We know Spartan South Midlands are restarting this weekend because Hampton didn't play. The Northwest Counties East, what they call themselves, they don't look like restarting until the new year, but then they got tougher restrictions up north. Down south, you can move between tiers 1 and 2, so in theory you can get to the games if you are allowed to. It's going to be a difficult few weeks, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah, it's just non-league being put in another big mess, isn't it? As a whole, you know, sort of, we don't know where we're going to be, whether we're coming or going, and you know, with the tiers system as well. It's just, I mean, we've seen in the National League South, you know, there's 4 clubs in Kent that can't have any supporters at all. What's going to happen next month? We have no idea.
But 2 of them haven't got any supporters anyway. There's a few clubs that, of course, got problems with COVID anyway. Billericay have called off 2 games. Ebbsfleet 4. Was it Welling 4 games? Bath City had problems as well. And Dulwich with their lights. Everywhere you turn, there's problems in getting this season completed, you think?
Yeah, there is. And I think a lot of clubs are going to have a bit of fixture congestion, aren't they, going into the new year? So the Saints, luckily at the minute, don't seem to be too affected, but there's just no guarantee.
Quickly looking around the division, talking about fixture congestion, of course, Oxford City are out of the FA Cup now. But what a result for them last night. 4-1 at Hungerford. James Roberts, who looked so good when they beat Northampton in the FA Cup, he scored twice last night. Hungerford, that's 4 defeats now. They're still in the top 5, but you think they're going to slide down, don't you?
Yeah, you expect so. But I mean, I was still very impressed with them against us. And I think if they do keep playing like that, I think they've more than a chance of sticking in the top 7 or being there at the end of the season.
Oh, the way they played, higher than top 7. But Oxford's like Hampton, they are going upwards now.
Yeah, a lot of clubs seem to have started the season a bit shaky, but are turning things around now. And yeah, that's just the craziness of a COVID season. Become February, we could be mid-table and Hemel could be second. Who knows?
Can we switch off?
Steady on, mate. Listen, everyone likes like an afternoon drink up, mate, but coming out with stuff like that is absolutely ludicrous stuff.
What can I say? I was enjoying a substantial meal in many of St Albans' finest pubs this afternoon.
You can see that by the rubbish that's on the wall behind you. Continuing with league review, Dorking could have gone top last night. They were 2-0 up with, 3 minutes to go, and they end up drawing 2-2 with Maidstone United down at Meadowbank. So Dartford are still top.
Who? Never heard of them.
No?
Cool.
Everybody goes there, wins, don't they, I think?
Yeah, they score some
But they do now.
Yeah.
Right. A couple of weeks ago, Lee, you mentioned a meeting Stand By Your Saints had with the club. There's been developments on that since, I believe. Do you want to refresh us on that first meeting and bring us up to date with the latest events?
Yeah, certainly. So probably about 3 weeks ago now, had a meeting with the trust and the club, Lawrence and Lee Page, where Lawrence asked to see all of the governance for Stand By Your Saints, which we handed over our constitution and all of the T's and C's of boost the budget, etc. And he asked for, he asked for all of the names of the people who donate, which we're under no obligation to give him because it's a massive breach of GDPR. He emailed again asking for this. So I'm like, okay, well, let's look into this a little bit more. So I asked the bank who hold our accounts, and I also asked the community's first help desk at the St Albans District Council, both of whom have said, under no circumstances can you give out that information without getting the say-so of the individual contributors. So he asked for the accounts. So about a month ago, our treasurer of Stand By Your Saints, he resigned. He wasn't in a position he could sort of do the job anymore. And I can do quite a few things, but accountancy is certainly not one of them. So we put that out to a third party to collate and sort of put into a document to hand over. We received a very unfortunate email from Lawrence last week, 2 weeks ago, just basically, where is it? Questioning the integrity of Stand By Your Saints, why he hadn't received the documents yet. I said, well, they're in the process. Unfortunately, we're having to adhere to the accountant's timeline as opposed to anyone else's. We're not holding them back. We're just a matter of the treasurer's gone. We need to get it sorted out properly for you, so you've got all the information that you've asked for. This was supposed. I did say to him that I expect them back latter end of last week. Monday, we had an email from Lawrence saying that basically because we've not had any accounts, that the club are going to have to distance themselves from Stand By Your Saints, as they would prefer to have 100% clarity for all the supporters, which is absolutely just. Needless to say, earlier on in the day, Sophie, Brooks and myself decided we would send out the email basically reiterating the point which we'd made some weeks ago, that we were going to stand down as from our roles to Stand By Your Saints. We've sort of taken the group as far as what we can, along with the other fantastic supporters we have there. And I think that it was quite evident from the tone of the emails towards us from Lawrence that it wasn't our council wasn't really of value anymore, and our efforts weren't really welcome, which is disappointing. So we sent out the email on Monday afternoon to all of the mailing list contributors and also to all of our financial contributors, outlining our thoughts, and basically from there, we are looking to wind up Stand By Your Saints. All of the money in the Booster Budget Fund will be donated to the club, which is as constitutionally wise. And then we've got a little bit of money left in the Legacy Fund, which we are going to donate to City Youth. We are just preparing a response now. We've got the accounts now. We're just going to send those off to Lawrence and to Lee. And hopefully by the end of next week, Stand By Your Saints will be no more. And we can all look forward to maybe enjoying a little less confrontational emails in the future.
It's incredible, the last 18 months, the aggressive stance taken by the club towards supporters and now towards this organisation. It's extremely unhelpful. It is very harmful. It's disrespectful. And you just can't understand why. You should be working with supporters and just seem to be getting more and more aggressive against them. And what you say there, Lee, it's quite shocking.
It's just unnecessary, really. I don't know whether we caught them at a bad time, but we weren't in a position now to have adult conversations over the phone. It would all have to be sort of done, which is documented in emails, backwards and forwards. But that's fine. But I just find these are the same group of people, the same fans that they called upon in the right at the very start to save our Saints. That, you know, they had the big launch on front of the page of the Heart's Ad. So the very fans that he's now questioning the integrity of were the ones that set up the group. We've done all these fantastic things in the community. It's just disappointing because it doesn't, you know, he's asking for something that we have no obligation to show him. We're doing it out of our own clarity and to prove that there's nothing untoward. It's all been, every single penny has been accounted for. And I just don't see the necessary angle of which the emails have come from. We've tried to be absolutely honest throughout. We've always remained positive towards the club while still questioning the decisions that we didn't agree with. But that's, you know, that is how a supporters club should work. But as I say, I think we should go to Clarence Park now. Everyone involved with Stand By Your Saints, whether you were at the beginning or at the end, can hold your head up high in Clarence Park, knowing that you've done some fantastic work over the last 5 years. You've helped the club, absolutely overwhelmingly helped the club. You've refurbished the clubhouse. You've raised the profile of the club tenfold in the community. You've got yourself involved with countless absolutely amazing local organisations and charities. It does go to show, though, that in the 3 days that we sent the email out saying we were going to be sort of standing down, we've had loads and loads of emails of thanks from local businesses, from local councillors, local charities, and supporters alike. So it's good to know that we have done something right, and we are not going to let two very forward, forceful emails putting a dampener on what was 5 fantastic years.
You might not know his figure off the top of your head. A rough idea how much Stand By Your Saints have contributed to the club over the last 5 years?
From what I saw, the top sheet, I think it was £35,000 to boost the budget. And obviously we've applied for grants and stuff to refurbish the clubhouse and pay for other sort of sundries and stuff that have been involved along the way. But it's not just about the money though, Tabs. It's about the integration into the community. We've now got families coming along which weren't coming before. One of the things, we did a massive poll on St Albans mums. What would get you to come down to Clarence Park? Oh, well, there's nowhere to change our baby. There's nowhere for them to play. So that's what we did. We listened to the fans. We implemented the areas which the club hadn't currently got. There was the Christmas stalls and the market stalls at the Auburn festivals. Those were ideas that haven't been implemented prior to Stand By Your Saints. And don't forget as well that these were the same fans that are being questioned now. These were the ones which rallied around the club when we had to lobby the council, when our stadium plan got rejected. They were outside the council offices with the flags, and they were singing and chanting, and they were all arm in arm, then. So there's absolutely no reason why those same fans should be questioned now, because we were a few days late in providing accounts to the club. Because, as I say, we were sort of dancing to the accountant's whistle, as opposed to anyone else's. But as I sort of say, look, I can hold my head high. I know what the group have done. I know what they've achieved. I know what it's brought to the club. So I can go into Clarence Park holding my head high, shaking people's hands, knowing that I've done what I have.
Look on the bright side, you won't be freezing your Watsits off in St Peter Street this December.
I would just like to pay tribute to Stand By Your Saints, everyone involved, Lee especially, Sophie, of course, all the members. They've done some brilliant work over the last 5 years. They've done some superb stuff for the club. They've, improved it so much. They've made the club more connected with the community. You talk about that event sort of outside the council offices, and when I was there, it was reminiscent of the civic event we had when we won the conference playoffs. And, it was a similar day to me. Well, for me, I mean, I was only a little lad at the first one, but it was similar for me to see the Saints supporters out there with their flags. It was brilliant. I remember people in the council offices, members of the staff, looking out from the windows wondering, what's this commotion? What are these people doing here? We were loud, proud that day. And I think supporters need to still be loud and proud going forward. But Stand By Your Saints has done some superb work. And I can only thank everyone involved and yourself, Lee, for some superb work over the last 5 years.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, Lee, it's funny, we keep hearing about a club wants to be, is it self-sufficient, whatever the phrase is, and they're tossing away the money that you're bringing in. But also, you did take a big hit, didn't you, on your income once the price went up, and 30% of our supporters were never seen again.
Well, I mean, the prices were always going to be the key sort of talking point. When the prices went up, people stopped contributing to boost the budget. But as a result now, I mean, I don't know whether the club are going to sort of reignite a similar initiative in-house, if you like. But I just don't see, the massive thing for me is that we had to go down the avenue and adopt the tone that we did. Personally, if anyone is beginning to sort of, strong arm or be a bit aggressive towards anyone, the only defense I know is strength. You have to show strength. And to question the integrity and the honesty of supporters who have supported the club quite literally longer than anyone else there is just absolutely atrocious. But look, I'm not taking it personally because a lot of fans have been sort of singled out for criticism over the last 6 months or so. But listen, I will continue to work hard as long as Stand By Your Saints is operational. Even for this last week, I'm going to be working hard to make sure that everything is accounted for, that we leave with our integrity in place. As I say, what was also important is that all the legacy fund money goes towards a similar aim. We weren't going to give it to the parent club because that wasn't in the constitution. It was to do with, the future of football in the city and giving that to city youth. I've already spoken to a couple of their trustees and they're more than welcome. I think one of them even had earmarked that for all the money to go to the disability side, which is a great touch because they are another group that we helped get reduced entry as well through a Stand By Your Saints meeting as well. So listen, it is what it is. We can't do it anymore, Tavs. We've done our absolute best. And I'm just so pleased for everyone that's ever helped us, who's ever donated, who's ever contributed, who's ever come up to paint the walls, clean the toilets, thankless tasks. But, we have done proud. And I hope whatever scheme the club come up with now, we will continue to support, I have no doubt.
You'll be able to spend more time with the family now. Lisa must be gutted.
Mate, she's absolutely climbing the walls here. Are you going out yet? No, love. No. But listen, that is another argument for another day.
As I think you said, hinted at there, you would imagine the club are going to look to pick up some of the loose ends of the things there which they've cut off because they are good fundraisers for the club. It's a case of wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know whether this was what they wanted all along. You'll have to ask Lawrence that. But it does seem very unfortunate that they have cut off quite. I mean, even though now it was nowhere near what it was in terms of the financial element that was being contributed. I must admit, as long as it doesn't sort of get tapped into on a regular basis, the money does accumulate. And, that money, I have to say, the booster budget money has done some wonderful things. It's helped us obtain Louis Theophanous. It's helped us retain Tom Bender. It's helped us sign some amazing players. Junior Marias. It's just, it goes on and on and on. And it's without, the owners have said on record, and Ian Allenson, without that money, they wouldn't have been able to get those players. So you'd like to think the club would do something similar, wouldn't you, in-house? Or maybe ask the trust to do something similar. But for the sake of being a few days late, providing our accounts, they've adopted a certain tone, which, listen, people can come in and do a similar job to us, which is brilliant. I just hope that they get a bit more respect than what have been shown towards us now. So,
well, you mentioned the Saint City's trust, and of course, trust is the one word that could be in short supply for a little while after the actions of what you've described.
Well, it's all been documented, Tabs. The emails have been going backwards and forwards, and actually Ian Rogers and Duncan have been involved in all this. There's been an email chain going backwards and forwards, and you know what? I'm frustrated because all this could have been settled over a nice beer and a handshake. We could have thrashed something out, but it was just not to happen. But that's fine. We move on. We live and learn, mate. We are still going to support the club 100%. We've always been supportive of the club. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put so much effort and endeavours into the last 5 years. But there we go. It's the club have had this new mindset now. They've had this new sort of way of dealing with things, as you and I have both seen. But good luck to them, and I wish them nothing but the absolute best, mate.
It's gone quiet.
I was just going to say, Lee, you talk about the legacy fund, but I think Stand By Your Saints have already implemented their legacy on the club. You talk about the supporters groups that you've helped bring to the club and the connection with the community. And I don't think anyone will ever forget the impact that Stand By Your Saints and yourself and Sophie, etc., and everyone involved, so many members, have had. And I think that is going to be the lasting memory of Stand By Your Saints. And I think it will inspire supporters now and in the future.
Well, I hope so. Because, the last group we were involved with was Clarence Play, which is a brand new £250,000 playground, which is being built 50 yards outside of the Hatfield Road turnstile. So hopefully we have sort of tapped into that area where a whole new load of families, a whole new potential set of fans can come in. And if the club are serious about community engagement, this is the sort of incentive that they need to sort of capitalize on.
Yeah.
But listen, the club have got good ideas, I'm sure, and they'll be implemented accordingly going forward.
Yeah, right, we've only got a few seconds to go, so we're going to have to wind up. Case of champagne's on its way to you, Lee, anyway, because you got the result right last Saturday on the predictor.
Get in.
Miles out, of course. What do you want for Saturday?
I will
4-0.
go 4-0 okay for Lee. I'll go 2-1 Saints.
I'll go 1-1. 1-1 for me.
Well, so you both think we're going to let a goal in, only one of you thinks we're going to win. Negativity. I'm not surprised they're chucking everybody out left, right and centre.
And on that wonderful note, thank you very much, everyone. See you later. See you next week. Email us. Bye-bye,
Oh, don't.